Hey, Janice.
Hi, Anthony.
Today we'll try to help answer the question that we get a lot, actually, with potential clients of, can you sell your inherited property? So we get the same kind of questions over and over again, or we kind of see the same scenario over and over again. And when that happens, we say, oh, let's talk about that on the blog podcast to make sure everyone, we can reference this if anyone needs to hopefully answer in advance. So these are the first steps you need to take to figure out if you can actually sell what you think is your inherited property. So yeah, folks think, oh, my uncle or whoever passed away. Okay, cool. I'm inheriting, so I'm going to, what do I need to do to sell it? Well, here are the steps you got to do first to make sure you're even, the person to inherit and sell, and if it's worth it. So here are the things you need to look at before you even get to the point of deciding if you need a probate attorney or a professional executor. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. So first, check the deed to confirm that you are actually inheriting. And that can mean a couple of things. First of all, did the relative or the deceased person actually own the property? Because sometimes people just stay at a place for a long time and they don't actually own it.
And they rent. There's a lot of long-term renters. Yep.
It's pretty easy these days to get a copy of the deed online. In New York City, for example, there's a website called Acris. We'll throw a link in there just so you know how to do that. FYI, for co-ops, which are very common here in the city, it's a lot harder actually because it's not technically real estate. There's no deed online. You have to call the manager. You have to figure out who is the management office. Call them if they'll actually talk to you.
Yeah.
And they'll have to check their internal records as to who the owner is. That's just it's like yet another reason why co-ops are kind of a pain in probate.
Well, tough. Yeah.
So, okay, you're checking if the decedent actually owned. And it doesn't mean like necessarily that just some other random person was the owner. It could be that the decedent had it in a trust and they didn't own it in their own name. And that may mean somebody else was named beneficiary in the trust. It could still be in another relative's name. If it's your uncle, but he actually moved in after your grandfather passed away, it could still be in granddad's name. And that would add a whole nother layer of complexity as to, wait, did the uncle actually own it or did he own like 1/5 of it?
Right.
And, there's just a whole other set of questions and things you need to figure out. And then, of course, deeds can have joint owners, or even on co-ops at least, you can actually name a beneficiary. And if there's a joint owner or if there's a beneficiary on this property, you didn't inherit. Unless you're the person who named it. Yeah.
Right. But if you're not on there.
And then you're done. You don't have to worry about this because it's not your property.
Right. Yeah. Move on. Yeah.
Okay. So next step after you check the deed is you need to figure out if there's a mortgage on the house. So what happens when, actually a lot of folks don't know what happens to a mortgage when a house is inherited. It does have to get paid off. It doesn't mean that the inheritor is necessarily, it doesn't mean the heir is immediately on the hook for mortgage payments, but the mortgage does have to be settled before the house is sold. Yeah. Right. So you need to figure out, was there a mortgage, and if so, how big? So if it's really big, if the mortgage amount balance is really big or even underwater, this will definitely affect how you approach the estate. If it's close to, or if it is insolvent, we've talked about that in the past. If it makes the estate extremely cash poor, that really affects how you approach things. And if you're willing to or need to put cash into the estate to make this thing happen, we've talked about that as well.
Exactly.
So how do you know? Mortgages are also generally recorded on public record, again, except co-ops. Or you do some investigation. You look at the mail. You check the tax returns for the 1098, I think it is.
1098, yeah.
And then just on another note, in the same vein as checking for mortgages to see if there's if the estate's underwater or if it's worth it, you want to check for other large potential debts.
Yes.
This can be mostly in the category. So, you may be thinking, oh wait, credit card debt can't be held against property. True. But if you have large potential tax debts or Medicaid liens or other public assistance liens, they will get paid first before anyone gets paid out from the proceeds from the real estate sale. And that will probably lead to some decisions like, is this worth going through? Yeah. Or do I want to hire somebody to just handle this? Yeah.
Right. Or second mortgage or a HELOC. Or,
very good.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. So then the last category of things you need to check into to determine, like, can I or do I want to get involved with selling this inherited property is, did you also inherit tenants? Okay. So is the property occupied? Or was it, if the person lived there and now it's vacant, that's pretty clear cut. But if the property is occupied, this will affect how you approach the estate. Maybe you have another heir, like your cousin or somebody who lives there and won't leave. That's a whole nother set of problems.
Yes, that's a whole nother couple of podcasts we've done, I think. Yeah.
For sure. Or then if it's not a family member, if it's an actual tenant, that's not as clear cut as you may expect it to be either. Tenants, for some reason, they lose their moral compass when they find out the landlord passed away. More often, unfortunately, and they often won't leave and just cause a lot of problems. So that might color your decision of how you want to approach the estate where you believe you have inherited property. So okay, I hope we've answered what to do when you think when you want to sell inherited property, and these questions come up a lot when folks call. So we're just trying to cover it here all in one place.
At least to give you a place to start, right? Even though we'll still go over some of this, but this is a good starting point. And then in general, I always recommend Anthony's book, How Probate Works, available on Amazon. I think you do dig into this as well,
I think so.
Selling property as well. Yeah, yep.
Perfect. All right. Thanks everyone for calling in, both with questions that we can answer and just general inquiries. And thank you, Janice. We will talk soon next time.
Talk soon.
Bye now.